Leon always knew life had its curveballs, but he never imagined it would hit him like this. He sat at the edge of the restaurant table, staring across at Janet, the woman he thought he'd spend forever with, the woman he trusted more than anyone. But tonight, there was something unfamiliar in her eyes. Cold, icy, like a stranger wearing her face. Her lips, still painted with that familiar shade he once adored, curled slightly as she delivered the blow. "I'm going to marry someone else, Leon." She said it like she was reading lines from a script, monotone, emotionless. It wasn't just his heart that shattered, it was everything. For a moment, Leon couldn't respond. His brain scrambled to catch up, but nothing made sense. The world around him seemed to pause, except for the thunderous pounding in his chest. He swallowed hard, his throat dry. "Is this some kind of joke?" Janet didn't blink. "No joke. It's over, Leon." He studied her face, hoping to find a flicker of doubt, regret, guilt, anything. But she was stone. The same woman who used to laugh in bed with him on rainy afternoons now looked at him like he was a meeting she'd long wanted to cancel. His fists curled under the table. His pride screamed not to fall apart. "Who is it?" he asked, even though part of him already knew. Johnson. That name. Of course. Leon felt the sting immediately. Johnson, his rival in business and in life. The man with the polished smile. The fake charm, the one Leon had always beaten, until now. "Johnson," he repeated, almost under his breath. "So that's what this is about." "He can give me things you can't," Janet said simply. "Security, power, a future." Leon's chest burned, but he refused to let the tears fall. Not here. Not for her. He pushed his chair back and stood, steady despite the weight pressing on his shoulders. "You made your choice," he said, voice quiet but firm. "I hope it's worth it." Without waiting for a reply, he walked out. He didn't look back, and she didn't call after him. Outside, the city lights blurred in his eyes, whether from the cold or the storm inside him, he couldn't tell. He walked aimlessly, the street suddenly unfamiliar. Every corner reminded him of her, and every memory now felt like a lie. Somewhere between heartbreak and rage, a strange idea crept into his mind. So ridiculous, he almost laughed. Jennifer, his longtime rival, smart, fearless, sharp-tongued, the kind of woman who'd never let him win an argument without a fight. They'd clashed more times than he could count. She annoyed the hell out of him and intrigued him just as much. And for some reason, thinking of her now brought clarity. If Janet could choose someone else, someone she believed was better, why couldn't he do the same? Why couldn't he turn the tables? Almost without thinking, he pulled out his phone. Scrolled. Found her name. Jennifer. His thumb hovered for a second. Then he hit call. It rang once. Twice. "Leon?" Her voice came, through crisp and curious. "To what do I owe this surprise?" A bitter smile tugged at his lips. "Jennifer," he said smoothly, though his heart pounded. "Tell me something. Do you happen to need a husband?" There was a pause. Then she laughed, low, amused, and sharp enough to cut. Well, well, this is going to be interesting." He gripped the phone tighter. For the first time that night, something stirred in him. A spark of hope? Maybe. Or madness. Either way, it felt better than the numbness. "Interesting doesn't even begin to cover it," he said. Jennifer didn't respond right away. The silence stretched. It wasn't rejection, she was thinking. Finally, she asked, "Are you serious? Leon?" "As serious as I've ever been," he said, the wind stinging his face. "Dead serious." Another pause. He could almost see her now, sitting back with that sly smile she always wore when she was about to win. "I didn't know you were the impulsive type," she said, her voice softer now, dangerous. "Especially not with marriage proposals." Leon let out a breath, half a laugh, half a sigh. "Let's just say I'm in a very unexpected situation. I heard, Jennifer replied. Janet and Johnson, right? The whole office is buzzing. Of course she knew. She always knew. Jennifer had a way of finding things out before anyone else. So you already know, Leon muttered. I know everything that matters, she said. But what I don't know is why you're calling me. Maybe I want revenge, he admitted. Or maybe what? Leon stared up at the sky. Maybe I don't want just revenge. Then what do you want, Leon? He thought of Janet's empty eyes, Johnson's smug face, Jennifer's fierce gaze across the boardroom table. The way she always kept him on his toes, made him sharper, stronger. I want to win, he said finally, voice low, fierce. I want to walk into that wedding with you on my arm and watch them choke on their regrets. Jennifer was silent for a beat. Then she laughed again, this time deeper, darker, with a spark that lit something in him. Leon, she said slowly, her tone full of wicked delight. I think I just might be interested. Tasting the idea, are you? Jennifer's voice held that usual edge, teasing but never soft. I think you just might be more dangerous than I thought. Leon didn't flinch. Is that a yes? There was a pause. Not the kind that hinted at doubt, but calculation. Something electric stirred in his chest. Meet me tomorrow, she said at last, voice firm but laced with intrigue. No promises, yet, but let's talk. In person. Leon's lips twitched into a grim smile. Deal. She hung up without another word, leaving him staring at his phone, heart still racing. For the first time since Janet had shattered his world, he felt something shift, something that felt dangerously close to control. The next morning, Leon arrived early. The cafe Jennifer had picked wasn't their usual battleground of glass-walled boardrooms and corporate events. It was quiet, tucked into a corner of the city most people passed by. Intimate, maybe even disarming. She was already there, seated by the window. Black coat, legs crossed, eyes unreadable but locked on him the moment he walked in. He approached. She didn't rise, just set her cup down with the same deliberate grace he remembered. Punctual, she said, tilting her head. I like that. Leon sat, gaze steady. I've always been serious about the things that matter. A faint smile tugged at the corner of her lips. Let's get one thing straight, Leon. If we do this, we do it. All the way. No half measures. No pulling out once we start. I wouldn't expect anything less. Good. She leaned forward slightly, fingers laced together. Because this isn't just about making them jealous. It's about power, about showing them they bet on the wrong people. Her words struck something in him, a fire that matched the one already burning beneath his calm exterior. Then let's win, he said. Jennifer's smile deepened, but her eyes, still sharp, still dangerous. In that moment, something shifted. They weren't enemies anymore, not rivals, not even allies in name. They were partners in something twisted and calculated, something they couldn't afford to lose. Leon didn't know how it would end. Maybe in triumph, maybe in disaster. But he knew one thing for sure. He was done being the man who got left behind. If the world wanted to see him fall, then fine. But they'd also watch him rise, and maybe, just maybe, burn a few bridges on the way up. Jennifer's gaze hadn't left his face. She studied him like she always had, not for weakness, but for certainty. He saw the wheels turning in her head. Strategic, brilliant, cold when she needed to be. Now she was the closest thing he had to a partner. Their drinks sat untouched. Leon couldn't have said what he ordered. Coffee didn't cut through betrayal. No, Jennifer finally said, her nails tapping rhythmically against the ceramic mug. This could destroy us both. Her words were cool, but something in her eyes sparked. A dare. It could, Leon agreed, calm. But we've both survived worse. Speak for yourself. I've survived by never trusting anyone. Leon leaned in, just slightly. Then, maybe it's time you tried. Her gaze flickered. Just a crack. Just enough for him to see something soft beneath all that steel, but it vanished just as quickly. "Don't mistake trust for convenience," she said. "I won't," he replied. "But I do know opportunity when I see it." Jennifer let out a low laugh, smooth, dangerous. "Good. Then let's talk terms." She pulled a slim notepad from her bag, flipping it open like this was just another deal. But Leon understood now. That was what fascinated him. Her ability to stay sharp, even here, where the lines between personal and professional were starting to blur. "If we're doing this," Jennifer said, "it has to look real. Public appearances, social media, people need to believe it." Leon nodded. "No half measures." "Exactly," she said, flipping a page. "We attend Janet and Johnson's engagement party, together. Let them see us. Let them feel it." His jaw clenched, but he kept his voice calm. "I want them to choke on their happiness." Jennifer gave a dangerous smile. "We'll do more than that. We'll make them wish they never crossed us." She slid the notepad across the table. He glanced at it, timeline, potential announcement posts, even fake engagement venues. He should have been shocked by the detail, but he wasn't. This was Jennifer. She didn't do small. "I have one condition," Leon said, lifting his gaze to meet hers. "Name it. No lies. Not between us. The rest of the world can drown in deception, but between you and me, we keep it clean. No secrets, no games." She studied him, silent, as if she were trying to see all the way through him. Then, finally, she nodded. "Deal." They sealed it not with a handshake, but something quieter. He couldn't explain it. Just a shared, unspoken shift in the air between them. Like two wolves circling, now moving side by side. As they went over the plan, Leon couldn't help but notice the flicker in Jennifer's eyes. Not just strategy, excitement, or maybe even curiosity. Before they left, she glanced at him with a crooked, teasing smirk. "You better be ready for this, Leon. I don't play for second place." "Neither do I," he said without hesitation. Later that evening, his phone buzzed. A text. From Jennifer. It was a photo, an open jewelry catalog. Diamond rings glittering in the frame. "If we're going to play, we might as well play to win. Pick one." Leon let out a breath through his nose, half smirk curling on his lips. For the first time in weeks, he felt something close to satisfaction. Power. He chose the boldest ring in the collection, the one that didn't whisper love. It shouted, "War? Done," he replied. Moments later, her response came, "Good. Now let's give them a show they'll never forget." Good choice, future fiancé. For the first time since his world had fallen apart, Leon allowed himself a real, honest smile. A quiet one, but real. Whatever storm they were about to unleash, he was ready for it. And somewhere, deep inside, a thought stirred, sharp and dangerous. Maybe this game wouldn't feel like a game at all. The days that followed moved faster than anything Leon had felt in years. His life, once a series of calculated meetings, safe dinners, and the dull comfort of familiarity with Janet, had taken a wild, unpredictable turn. Jennifer wasn't wasting a second. Every day she sent over new details, coordinated outfits, crafted press releases, and strategically placed joint appearances. Subtle headlines started circulating, whispers grew into noise. By the third day, his phone buzzed with messages from old friends, business partners, even rivals. Some offered congratulations wrapped in suspicion. Others asked directly, was this for real, or some twisted power move? He replied to them all, with the same answer. Silence. Silence, and just enough mystery to keep them guessing. Jennifer, on the other hand, was thriving. She carried herself like a queen reclaiming her kingdom, cool and commanding, every step intentional. When they entered the charity gala arm in arm, heads turned, some in awe, others in disbelief. It was as if the whole room caught fire. Leon's gaze swept across the room and landed on Johnson, smug as always, standing beside Janet. The man wore the expression of a winner, until he saw them. Then, just for a second, the mask cracked. His eyes widened. His posture stiffened. Janet, she didn't hide it. Her stare clung to Leon like a burn. But he didn't flinch. He didn't even look at her. All his attention was on Jennifer, who of course was flawless. "You do know," she whispered against his ear, voice velvet smooth, "that Johnson is about 2 seconds away from choking on his drink?" "Let's give him a reason to," Leon murmured back, and without thinking too hard, he leaned in and pressed a kiss to her temple. To the watching crowd, it looked natural, expected even. But for Leon, it felt like a spark against his chest. Unfamiliar. Unsettling. Jennifer didn't miss it. Her smile curved just a little, the sharp edge of it hinting she felt it too. The rest of the night played out like a masterfully directed scene. Private jokes shared in public, subtle touches, perfectly timed exits. The cameras didn't just flash, they followed. By the time they left, the story was already writing itself. Inside the car, with the doors closed and the noise behind them, Jennifer let her mask drop, just slightly. "Not bad," she said, crossing one leg over the other with practiced grace. "You play the role better than I thought." "I could say the same," Leon replied, his voice softer now. He studied her, not just as a partner in their plan, but as something more. She turned to face him. For a moment, there was no performance. No act, just the two of them and the flickering streetlights painting shadows across her face. "Leon," she said, her tone different now, gentler. "We started this as a game, a way to get back at them, but let's not kid ourselves. We're drawing blood. They're watching, and they're hurting." "Good," Leon said without hesitation. His voice was quiet, cold. Mercy wasn't on his mind tonight. Jennifer looked at him, her lips parting as if to say something more. But instead, she just let out a slow breath and turned to the window. Silence stretched between them, but it wasn't empty. Leon sat there, staring at her reflection, wondering if she felt it too, that dangerous current rising between them. If she was beginning to question whether this revenge, this illusion, had started to feel a little too real. When they pulled up outside her apartment, she stepped out but leaned back into the car one last time. "Tomorrow," she said, locking eyes with him. "We take it up another notch." He nodded once. "Tomorrow." He watched her walk away, her silhouette swallowed by the night, but her presence lingered like a scent in his lungs. His mind should have been on the plan, on revenge. But it wasn't. Jennifer was no longer just a pawn in this twisted strategy. She was becoming something else. The thought followed him into sleep, unsettling, intriguing, not entirely unwelcome. The next morning, sunlight cut through, the curtains in harsh golden stripes. Leon was already awake, already reaching for his phone. A message waited. "Jennifer. Brunch at 11. Wear something dangerous." He smirked. The storm was far from over. He arrived 5 minutes early. That never used to matter to him, especially not for personal meetings. But this wasn't personal anymore. This was war. And Jennifer was the sharpest weapon in his arsenal. The restaurant she picked was anything but private. High ceilings, glass walls, tables full of the city's elite. The kind of place where appearances mattered and secrets didn't stay secret for long. Exactly her kind of battlefield. When she walked in, the atmosphere shifted. Her crimson dress didn't just stand out, it commanded. Every step of her heels echoed confidence. Her gaze swept past everyone until it landed on him, and in that moment, he felt like the only man in the world. Sliding into the seat across from him, she gave a small, knowing smile. "Dangerous enough?" she asked, her head tilting slightly. He took her in, really took her in, and then nodded. More than enough. They didn't speak of the plan right away. They didn't need to. Every glance, every lingering pause between words said it all. They were in sync, locked in. Waiters hovered. Nearby, clearly aware they were witnessing something electric. Jennifer leaned forward, her voice just loud enough to carry to the right ears. "You've always had a way with closing deals, Lan. Tell me, do you always seal them with this much charm?" "Only when the stakes are worth it," he replied, eyes locked on hers. She laughed, a soft, sultry sound that wrapped around him like silk. Running a finger along the rim of her glass, she gave him a look that made it hard to tell where the act ended and reality began. "Then I guess we should toast. To dangerous stakes." They clinked glasses. Just as they did, Leon spotted them. Janet and Johnson. 2 tables away, sitting stiff, staring. Jennifer saw them too. Of course she did. She turned slowly, deliberately, letting her smile shift into something sharper, more mocking. She raised her glass in a cool, wordless salute. Then, turned back to Leon. "They weren't expecting us here," she said under her breath, still smiling. "Let's make sure they never forget it." He leaned in slightly, smirk playing on his lips. "I'm starting to think," he murmured, "you're enjoying this more than you expected." Jennifer tilted her head and studied him carefully. "No," she said softly. "You are." And she wasn't wrong. Because as Leon sat there surrounded by whispers, sharp eyes, and a city that was hanging on to their every move, he realized something that both thrilled and terrified him. He wasn't pretending anymore, and neither was she. "Are you?" he shot back, his lips curling. "Maybe," she admitted, her eyes dancing with dark amusement. "But unlike you, I don't have anything left to lose." Her words hit harder than he expected. He searched her face, wondering what lay beneath. The confident surface she always showed. Jennifer had always been a fortress, but now he saw cracks in the walls. Small, but there. Maybe she wasn't as untouchable as she liked to pretend. "You do now?" Leon said softly, almost without thinking. Jennifer's expression flickered, just for a breath of a second, before she masked it again with a tight smile. "Careful, Leon. If you start meaning what you say, this game becomes something else entirely." "Maybe I want it to," he replied, surprising even himself. Before she could answer, a shadow loomed over their table. Leon's chest tightened as Johnson's voice sliced through the air. "Well, if it isn't the happy couple," Johnson said, forced cheer in his tone but venom in his eyes. Jennifer looked up at him with cool indifference. "Johnson," she greeted smoothly. "Did you want to join us? I believe you're already enjoying the show." Janet stood slightly behind. Johnson, her eyes locked on Leon. There was something wild there now, something unsettled, like she couldn't decide whether to rage or regret. "No need," Johnson replied tightly. "We wouldn't want to interrupt whatever this is." Leon's gaze didn't waver. "It's exactly what it looks like," Jennifer added, her voice like silk hiding steel. "And probably even more than you imagine." Johnson's jaw ticked, but before he could spit out a reply, Janet placed a hand on his arm, her touch stiff. "Let's go," she said, her voice strained. They walked away, but not before Janet cast one last lingering look at Leon, her expression caught between fury and longing. As they disappeared, Jennifer turned back to Leon, her smile sharp and satisfied. "Checkmate," she whispered. Leon's chest thrummed with adrenaline. He should have felt only victory, but instead, he felt something far more dangerous brewing between them, something that no plan could control. The moment Johnson and Janet vanished from view, the tension between Leon and Jennifer didn't ease. If anything, it pulled tighter, like a string stretched to its limit, threatening to snap at any wrong move. Jennifer set her glass down with a quiet clink, her fingers still curled around the stem. She didn't speak immediately, just watched Leon with an intensity that made his pulse throb beneath his skin. "You saw her face," Jennifer finally said, her voice smooth but carrying a subtle rasp of satisfaction. "She's cracking." Leon didn't deny it. He had seen it. Janet's mask had faltered, and beneath it was something raw and ugly, a mixture of jealousy and something closer to panic. He had expected it to feel like pure triumph, like standing over a defeated opponent in battle, but it didn't. It felt messier, more complicated. Jennifer must have read something in his silence because she tilted her head, studying him closer. "Don't tell me you're feeling sympathy," she said, her eyes narrowing slightly. Leon's jaw tightened. "No," he answered. "Not sympathy, just not what I thought it would be." "That's because you were expecting revenge to taste like justice," Jennifer replied coolly. "But it never does. It tastes like ash, Leon. Sweet at first, bitter in the ruin." He watched her closely, sensing the weight behind her words. There was experience there, more than she had ever admitted. Maybe this wasn't just a game for her either. Maybe once upon a time she'd stood exactly where he was now, burning from the inside out. "You've done this before," he said, quietly. Jennifer's gaze flickered for the briefest second, but then her familiar smirk returned. "Haven't we all?" Leon wanted to press her, to peel back the layers of her armor, but before he could, she rose from her chair gracefully. "Come on," she said, offering him her hand. "We're not done yet." Without thinking, he took it. She led him out of the restaurant, past lingering eyes and whispering lips, straight to the waiting car. The moment they were inside, Jennifer turned to him with a spark in her eyes that went beyond mere strategy. "We're going to finish this properly," she said, her voice low. Leon arched a brow. "What's next?" She gave him a slow, deliberate smile. "We announce the engagement. Tonight." His breath caught for a second. He had known this was coming, of course, it was part of their plan after all. But hearing her say it, seeing the fire in her eyes as she said it, sent an unexpected jolt through him. "Tonight," he repeated. Jennifer's smile only deepened. "Yes, strike while the wound is still fresh." For a split second, doubt tried to crawl into his mind. Was he really ready to play this game all the way to the end? But then he thought of Johnson's smug grin. He thought of Janet's icy words at that restaurant. He thought of every moment he had spent swallowing his pride while they celebrated his downfall. No, he wasn't just ready. He was hungry for it. "Tonight," Leon agreed firmly. Jennifer's approval showed in her eyes. Bright and fierce. "Good. Then we do this properly." Jennifer wasn't putting on a show anymore. This wasn't an act. She wasn't just playing a part. She owned the moment like she was born for it. As she and Leon climbed the steps to the platform, where they'd finally share their big news, Leon scanned the crowd below. Faces he hadn't seen in years flashed by, former competitors, ex-colleagues. And then he saw them, Janet and Johnson. They were near the back but unmistakably present. Their eyes were locked on him and Jennifer, their expressions tight, unreadable. "Perfect timing," Jennifer whispered, lips barely moving. Leon's heart pounded. He had imagined this day over and over again, but nothing had prepared him for how real it felt. How sharp, how alive. He wanted them, Janet and Johnson, to see him like this. Untouchable, steady, reborn. The crowd quieted as Jennifer stepped forward. Of course she went first, always the strategist. "Thank you all for coming," she said, her voice smooth, poised, and laced with subtle challenge. "Leon and I hadn't planned to go public just yet, but life moves quickly when you find the right person." Then she turned to him. And for a moment, Leon felt like it was just the two of them. No cameras, no crowd. Just her eyes, dark and stormy, locked on his. He moved closer, his arm slipping naturally around her waist. It looked casual, but it felt different, intimate, real. "It's rare," he said, steady and clear, to find someone who matches you, move for move, ambition for ambition, fire for fire. Jennifer's smile twitched, almost dangerously. But when you do, she added, pausing just long enough for the weight of it to land, you don't waste time. Leon reached into his pocket and pulled out the ring. The one Jennifer had picked herself. Bold. Unapologetic. Just like her. He slid it onto her finger slowly, watching as it caught the light and threw it back in defiance. Gasps rippled through the crowd, but Leon didn't hear them. He couldn't take his eyes off her. For power, she whispered. Just for him. For victory, he replied. It wasn't just an announcement. It was a declaration. A vow. Jennifer raised their joined, hands high, flashing the ring like a banner. We're engaged, she said, her voice clear and fearless, and the future is ours. The crowd erupted. Cheers, cameras, flashes of light. But Leon's eyes searched for one person. Janet. Her expression was a battlefield. Shock, anger, disbelief, and something deeper. Regret. Honest, raw regret. Johnson clapped stiffly beside her, trying to play it cool. But Leon could see through it. He wasn't happy. He was seething. Good, Leon thought. Let it burn. As people closed in for photos and congratulations, Jennifer leaned in close, her breath brushing his ear. Enjoy it, she murmured. We've turned the tide. For a second, he wanted to say something real, to tell her she meant more than she probably knew. But instead, he just pulled her closer, letting the cameras capture what they wanted, a man hopelessly in love. Let them believe it. Let them choke on it. Because what had started as revenge was becoming something far more dangerous, something neither of them could control. As the night wore on and the rooftop slowly emptied, the city sparkled around them. The buzz of the event faded, but Leon felt electric, wired. Jennifer stood beside him, still, poised, eyes sharp and thoughtful. She was already analyzing every glance, every whisper, every piece of the spectacle. They had pulled it off perfectly. Janet and Johnson had left early, but not before wearing their bruised egos on their sleeves. Leon could still see Janet's face in his mind, stunned and furious. She had wanted him broken. She had expected to see him fail. Instead, he stood taller than ever, Jennifer beside him like a crown made of fire. You did well, Jennifer said, softly, just for him. Leon turned toward her, taking in the way the light softened her features. She looked dangerous, beautiful, like a queen who had just won a kingdom. We did well, he corrected. For once, her smile shifted, less calculated, more human, almost tender. It unsettled him. The photographers were gone. Just a few guests, lingered, sipping champagne and trading theories. Let them guess. Let them make up stories. He didn't care anymore. Jennifer, he asked, voice low, was this just revenge for you? She didn't flinch. Her gaze flicked to his, still sharp, but softer now. Honest. At first, she admitted, but not now. Her words landed between them like a weight neither of them could ignore. Leon took a slow breath, grounding himself. Me neither, he said quietly. She looked at him differently now, not as a co-conspirator or a rival, but something more. Something dangerous, a man she could fall for. We started this to win, she said, her voice steady. But somewhere along the way, I stopped caring about winning. His pulse hammered in his ears. So did I. This time, when he kissed her, it wasn't for show. Not for revenge. Not for the past. It was for them. And Jennifer didn't hesitate. She kissed him back with a fire that had been simmering under the surface all along. When they finally pulled away, she let out a soft laugh and leaned her forehead against his. Leon, she whispered, like his name meant something more now. We set fire to everything. Then let it burn, he whispered. And for the first time, he meant it. Later, as they sat side by side overlooking the city, quiet, victorious, and changed, Leon felt something unexpected. Peace. Maybe not the clean kind, but peace nonetheless. Jennifer's fingers laced through his naturally, without pretense. "You know," she said, still looking out at the skyline, "they'll say we did this for revenge, for power. No one will believe it turned into something real." "Let them say what they want," Leon replied, brushing his thumb over her knuckles. "We know the truth." "And what truth is that?" she asked, turning to him. He met her gaze, calm and certain. "That somewhere between hate and ambition," he said, "we found something we weren't even looking for." Her smile was real. A little sad maybe, but deeply real. A smile that knew what it had cost to get here, and still didn't regret it. "Maybe that's the sweetest revenge of all," she murmured. Leon squeezed her hand gently. "No," he said, smiling back. "It's not revenge anymore." And under the soft glow of the city lights, with the past behind them and something new unfolding, they let go of who they used to be. They weren't just Leon and Jennifer anymore, not rivals, not schemers. They were something else entirely, and whatever it was, they were in it, together.